In every symposium, we would like to take a moment to tribute Allan Kardec, the codifier of Spiritism. Kardec was born on October 3rd, 1804, and this month we celebrate the 215th anniversary of his birthday. We will screen a short documentary about Allan Kardec, which was produced by the United States Spiritist Federalization. This documentary was presented earlier this year at the 13th U.S. Spiritism Symposium in New Jersey.
It is hard to talk about Kardec without considering the Professeur Hippolyte, the Professor Hippolyte, who he was really before Kardec is his pen name.
Kardec was a scholar. His background was in education from the beginning. From a very young age, he was sent to Yverdon to study with Pestalozzi. He was one of the brightest students that Pestalozzi had.
He has a lot of knowledge in terms of not only math, biology, astronomy, that was very common in that time. So he was this guy that, if we have to compare nowadays, was someone that would be like, I don't know, a professor of this big university here that we have in the US, such as Johns Hopkins, Yale, Harvard University. So he was very respected educator in that time.
Kardec started working with Spiritism when he first got in contact with the table turning, a phenomenon that has traveled from the US to Europe.
So some of his friends asked him to investigate, as he was known for his scientific background and his rationality and reason, which he did not really want to do because he was busy with work and everything else. But eventually they twist his arm. He starts to investigate this phenomena.
And he immediately saw that a table could not be, answering questions by itself, because he said a table doesn't have a brain. How can a table reason and give us reasonable answers to questions?
So that's where he began his idea that an intelligent effect must have an intelligent cause. Thus, he began to become curious and wanting to know, well, if that's the case, what is behind that table?
He made contact with many different people, many different mediums, in many different regions, even different countries. So from that point, he started writing the same questions and sending to different mediums and obtaining back the same answers. So that way he could certify that the answers was coming from the same source, the spiritual realm.
He received communication from all over the world, including the US.
They weren't just messages about everyday life, about who this person's going to marry or that person's going to marry. It was more messages about humanity, growth, spirituality, understanding humanity in terms of loving one another as brothers and sisters, as equals before God.
Kardec saw that it was a very enriching, and I mean, all the information that the spirits were providing were opening a completely new world before him.
He started compiling the answers and started asking himself some questions at the meetings. And at a certain point he received a message from the spirits, what the spirit called himself a spiritual guide, Zephyrus, and this spirit told him that there was much more behind the answers, that there was a whole new doctrine there, and that's when he decided to start organizing the questions and answers, compiling them, and started preparing what ended up being the Spirit's book, the first edition that was published in 1857.
The seminal work in Spiritism, from whence every other Spiritist book later comes from, including the Spiritist Codification, which are the first 5 books that Kardec himself edited or put them together.
Quando foi firmar o livro, ele estabeleceu uma interrogação. Se colocasse Denizar Rivaio, as pessoas iriam ler pela fama do pedagogo, do escritor. Mas se o livro aparecesse com a autoria de um anônimo, ele venceria pela sua qualidade intrínseca. E foi o primeiro gesto de renúncia deste homem notável.
So he didn't want to mix what he had been gathering together with this body of knowledge with his professional career. So it had been revealed to him that in a previous life as a Druid, he had the name Allan Kardec. So he adopted that name as a pen name, which at that time was quite popular for many authors who didn't want to out themselves to use a pen name.
Whether you believe in the religious part, religiosity part, or the scientific part, or the philosophical part, I think every person owes to himself or herself a chance of reading Kardec just for the logic, because it's such an amazing form of writing, of organizing one's thoughts.
When we talk about the codification, we are talking about a body of knowledge where those knowledge go touching everything that we know about the universe, about ourselves as a spirit incarnate in a physical body, about happiness, and about also what's going on after we die, life in the other side as well.
When he was invited to organize the Spirit's book, some of the questions reflect so much this deep interest of him in the betterment of us all. And one of the main questions, it's question 919, which asks, what is the most efficient way to be pleasing to God and to resist the draw of evil? Because the answer to the question is, know thyself.
Kardec revealing the spirits that lived here, and when they got back to the spirit realm, they reported to us, I live it this way, and that's the way that I find myself. So we can learn from somebody else's experience that can help us to make a decision in our life. And it's very, very valuable because it's something very tangible that we can learn from.
See that as a father figure in there, he's not only gathering information about people, about the spirits to tell us, he's really, truly care about those people that are there, the spirits that are there suffering.
There are some writings of him later on in his life when he says that charity is really the main focus of what Spiritism should be. And when reading that book once again, we feel that Kardec really strived to live like that.
Because he was the one that said that without charity there is no salvation. About all of this, we understand that charity, compassion for our fellow beings is essential for us to become a good Spiritist.
I would say that the greatest inheritance that Kardec left to us, the greatest legacy, was his own example as a man, as a disciple of Jesus, as a forerunner of this new era that we are living now and harvesting all the benefits of it. And but most of all, the example of selflessness.
In Kardec time, there is this great story that happened in that time that is entitled The Book Binder.
And one particular evening, he received a book in the mail, I believe it was, and it was attached with a letter from a young man who basically explained to him that he was deeply depressed and was on the verge of going to commit suicide.
When he went to the bridge to jump and kill himself, so he put his hand to jump, and he put his hand in a book, and the book was the Spirit's book.
And when he opened up the book, he began to read it, and he was very moved by it, and he decided not to take his own life. So he wrote to Kardec to say thank you, basically. It was that reminder that, hey, if I'm helping one person, if I'm changing the lives of one person, if I'm saving one life, then all of this is worth it.
It's about learning for ourselves, for our lives, for what we can do to our lives to make better, to help people and help ourselves.
And reading the books, really trying to understand the meaning of the teachings, Jesus' teachings, will help us to set the right goals in our life, to design our north, where I want to be. But not only design the north, but how to get there.